Okay, let's take a look now, ladies and gentlemen, at the team complex multi-level business communication activity. If you recall correctly, from the fact sheet that I gave you, your team was to put together a timeline chart based on the information found in the fact sheet. Now, the fact sheet talked, or you were in this particular case, a meeting planner, good term, for organization, and your boss wants you to arrange for a board of directors meeting in August 8th, I believe. And you need to find a location in Livonia, Michigan. Well, you don't know anything about Livonia, Michigan, so you have to do some research and find an appropriate hotel facility that can handle you. Now, you did go and you did some research. You did find out a very good, strong candidate. You contacted the hotel. They could do it, and you contacted your boss. He said fine, and then you eventually contacted 4 weeks out the board of directors to arrange so they can participate. So, with that very brief introduction, let's go ahead and get through this. Now, again, the form is what I have here. Do you have to use this form after this class? Absolutely not. Should you? Well, I would suggest you use something. Why? That way you don't drop the ball in some area. You have a written hard copy of what has transpired, the timelines for it, and just going to keep you focused. Now you can put this in electronic format. I don't care, whatever works best for you. But here again is the headers: the date of the activity, who's the recipient, who's it from, copy. Now this would be a CC, BCC, most likely the medium. Is it email? Is it a letter? Is it a memo? Is it some other phone? Telephone conversation? Telephone call? The tone, negative, persuasive, routine, and then very briefly, what's the subject? Now, what you put in here is not as important as what you put in there. You remember what it means, okay? So I'm not going to be evaluating specifically what you have. Does this make sense? No, it's if it makes sense to you and it makes enough sense to me, we're good. It's good to go. So let's go ahead and take a first entry. Okay, again, your boss is a Dr. Tolley, and on April 10 of 2023, he writes you a memorandum, as you can see under medium. It is routine. Why? Because he's the boss. He's telling you what you have to do. That's routine. And he basically wants you to determine a board meeting location, in this case, Livonia, Michigan. I didn't have to put all that in there because it's not important, but the general subject, that's important also. Now he has in here CC board meeting file. Now, why did he see the board meeting file? Is there some um, great idea or reasoning for that? Well, my suggestion, and I think I've talked about this before, if not my mistake, but I'm doing it right now. There is always, in my opinion, a need to have what I call a paper trail. Now, what do I mean by paper trail? A paper trail is a consecutive chronological order, everything in written form that was in written form that deals with a specific event. Why? Well, it's also known as a CYA file. And if you don't know what CYA is, you could probably Google it or ask somebody. But in general, it stands for cover your, and you can find a word that begins with A that represents the word posterior. Now, why do I have to do this? Well, Camelot does not exist, and it certainly does never would have existed in business. Even today, with all kinds of special, accommodations and everything, it is a dog eat dog world. Okay, it's not going to always be that way, but you are going to run into proud times where you will have to support something that you know you did, or something that you did that you believe is accurate. And the best way of doing that is by producing paper. Okay. Now, paper, I mean copies of letters and memos. And the best way of doing that is to save copies of this in a hard copy. But oh, Dr. Cordy, we are in the 21st century. Why do we need paper? Well, I'll give you a quick hint. Go to a court of law. If you've never been to a law, if you've, or a court, you've never been sued, you've been suing somebody, and the judge asks you, do you have evidence to suggest that such or so and so, whatever? And you say, yes, Your Honor, here I have a copy of a letter. And you can hand it and it will become evidence. However, if you say, yes, Your Honor, I have here on my phone somewhere an electronic file, you're going to hear the mallet go down and it will not be included as evidence because it is a waste of time. Keep hard copies. They're easy to show and produce. So the best way of keeping hard copies of stuff is through a courtesy copy, a CC, a carbon copy if you wish to call it that, or a BCC, a blind carbon copy, depending upon do you want people to see it or do you not care. If you really don't care, a CC is appropriate. If you want it to be secretive, a BCC. But then again, you have the copy, you print it up, put it in a hard copy file, and forget about it until you need it. So in this case, April 10th, you received from your boss a letter, or excuse me, a memo. He has CC'd it because he's keeping a CYA file. It is routine. He's telling you, find me a hotel. All right. So there's your first entry. Second entry, April 17, 2023. You don't know anything about Livonia, Michigan. Haven't heard about it, but you have a general idea. Don't know anything about the hotels there. So being a good meeting planner, you go to an organization called the American Meeting Planners International. And they happen to have a listserv where you can post requesting, asking questions, answering questions, and so on. So you take advantage of this, you dump an email into the listserv and ask people, hey, people out there, who knows anything about Livonia, Michigan and hotels and all that good stuff? You CC your board meeting file because you're doing a CYA file. It is routine. You're just asking, making a general request. Who knows anything about Livonia? All right. So now you sit and you wait. Maybe you do other you're supposed to be doing, but now a couple days later you get a hit. Okay, you get a hit from a Mrs. Susan Bureau and it's to you. Now, there are no copies on it because maybe she doesn't follow the system of CYA per call. Who cares? Not important. But it is an email reply back to you. It is routine because it is a reply. She's not convincing you. She's not giving you bad news. She's just providing you what you want to know. And she gives you this recommendation of the Livonia Hilton Towers. Very nice. Now, what you should do as soon as you see this and it looks appropriate, even if it's not appropriate, I would immediately hit the reply button and send a thank you note. Why? Well, it builds up goodwill and it certainly may be of value to you down the road to have that goodwill. Far too often today, you do not get replies, you send out information, you don't get a thank you back or nothing else. Do it. Okay. Goodwill is what's going to save your butt down the road and the business community. So on the same day, 10 seconds later, well, maybe not 10 seconds, you hit the reply, email back to Susan Buer, Mrs. Susan Buer. You are going to CC in your case, your board meeting file because you want that paper trail. It's routine and it's thanks. Appreciate it. Talk to you later. Whatever. Doesn't have to be long, drawn out. Just thank you. Move on. Ask questions maybe, but whatever. All right. I'll follow. Now you're going to wait a couple more days and find out if there are any other hits and are you doing other work. And granted, we're still several months out, so you don't have to work on the site now. So I picked an arbitrary date on the 27th of April. You contact the recommendation from Susan Beer. The recommendation is a Mr. David Bowie, I believe sales manager or something like that at the Chicago, or excuse me, Livonia Hilton and Towers. And it's a telephone call. Pick up the phone, ask questions. A great way to find information quick. Well, saves you time. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it's something you want to proceed with, or you just cut it loose right there. Make a phone call. Routine, talk to them, him, her, let them know what's going on. What do you need? What do they got? Usual, blah, blah, blah. Take good notes. Why? Well, because when you're done with a phone call, what you got to do immediately is follow up with a verbal conversation of any great depth. All right, now if somebody wants a simple yes or no, you don't have to follow it up. But in your case here, you're looking for some heavy duty information that could make or break your job for sure. So I would immediately turn around and either send an email, and I got down here a letter. All right, I probably would do an email in this case, but one or the other for sure. It is going to be to Mr. David Bowie. It is from you. You're going to do your CYA, the CC, the board meeting file. It's going to be routine. You are just responding back what you heard, what you think he heard, and so on. All right. You're putting it down, confirming the content of the telephone conversation. Why? Well, I certainly would never bet my job on being 100% certain that what I heard from Mr. Bowie is accurate or what he heard from you is 100% accurate. So follow it up immediately. If there's errors, you get that response back saying, whoa, hang on, that's not quite what I meant. Or yes, that's accurate, whatever. Do it. All right. So you get a response or you wait and everything's cool. Now the next day, do you have to do it right away? No. Okay, but I just put an arbitrary date, the 28th, and you are now have to get that written permission from your boss, right? So you have a memorandum. Could you do an email? Sure. It's not very what I would call formal. I would probably send a memorandum to my boss. Dr. Tolley, you're doing your CC of your board meeting file. You are going to be persuasive. Remember, you have to get his permission, which means you have to convince him. He may be 99.9% sure, but you still got that 0.1% you got to convince. So it is persuasive in nature, and you're basically obtaining approval of the Livonia Hilton and Towers. All right. Now, the 28th is a Friday over the weekend. Monday, you get a memorandum back from your boss, Dr. Tolley. He's also doing his CC of the board meeting file. It is routine because he's just following up. He doesn't have to persuade you to agree to him. So he's coming back saying, sure, go for it. Sounds like a good plan. There you go. So you've got that. Now, May 2nd. You could do it the same day. You could do it a day later or 2 days later. So 3 days later. It doesn't matter. But, I put down May 2nd. You're now going to create a letter because it is formal. A letter to Mr. David Bowie. And you are now going to confirm, arrange for your board of directors meeting on August 8th at his facility. It is routine. All right. You're going to give them all the information. You're just probably going to reiterate it. Any additional changes or deletions as need be, you're getting the ball going. Now you're going to do your CC, your CYA, CC of the meeting file, board meeting file, but you're also going to CC your boss because your boss is now directly involved in this. You got to keep him or her abreast of the situation. All right, so you get this sent out. Now you're going to have a break. Yes, there's going to be 101 other things you'll be doing in the meantime, your normal stuff, the other stuff. But from our purposes, Tali, if you recall from the fact sheet said 4 weeks out, you need to contact your board and let them know what the situation is. So 4 weeks out is July 10th. About that's a Monday. It is from you, a letter, because you are going to send each of the board meetings a formal written correspondence, a letter. It's outside of the organization. Remember, board members are not employees of the company, so they will not receive memorandums. They will receive letters from you to each board member. You are CCing your board meeting file and again, Dr. Tolley. It is routine and it is a meeting announcement. Probably have an agenda, location, and particulars. What's there? What do you need? What do they need? And so on and so on. That ends this particular event. Okay, now there's, yes, again, 101 other steps you'll be doing and phone calls and letters and memos, but for our purposes, these, what you see here on the screen, covers what you need to do. All right, now keep this in mind, ladies and gentlemen. When you do your final assignment, okay, for every action, there's a reaction. Keep that in mind, all right? And every action on here has a reaction. Keep that in mind.